Look around at the valley we call the Devil's Dyke. It's beautiful and peaceful today, but the legends of how it came to be here are full of fear and terror. You see, this part of England, cut off by marshes and forests, was one of the very last to be converted to Christianity, back in the 7th century. But the devil was driven mad with anger at the loss of his last stronghold. If the people of the Weald would turn their back on him, then they and their churches must drown under the waters of the sea. One night was all it would take him to dig his way through the hills and send them all to a watery grave. He boasted as much to St. Cuthman, who let his faith conquer his fear and devised a plan to save the Weald. What would the devil do, he asked, if he couldn't dig his way through in one night? The devil laughed. He knew he couldn't fail. If his dyke wasn't finished, he said, he'd leave Cuthman and his flock in peace for evermore. Night fell, and the devil began to dig. Huge mounds of earth were flung aside as he worked. You can still see them today, the hills of Sisbury Ring, Mount Caburn and Firle Beacon. You can only imagine how the people of the Weald quaked in their beds at the terrifying noise of the digging and the devil's stamping hooves. But Cuthman told his plan to a nun, Sister Ursula, and together they prayed and watched through the night. Terrible cramps began to rack the devil's body, and his digging got slower and slower. Then suddenly a light glimmered on the eastern hills. A startled cockerel crowed, and the devil flung down his tools in despair. Dawn. The night was over. How had he failed? Shamed, he fled out to sea, never to return, dropping clods of earth from his hooves that became the Isle of Wight. In his haste, he never noticed how dark the sky still was, or the laughing figures of St. Cuthman and Sister Ursula, standing on the hilltop holding a brightly glowing candle, and smoothing the ruffled feathers of a rooster who had helped to save the Weald.